Here's a quick tip for you. We're talking with Cherie Sintes-Glover. She is an urban chicken consultant, runs the website chickensforeggs.com. And there's been some sort of interesting talk on the internet about eggs. Can you leave them out on your kitchen sink? Should you wash them first? Cherie, what's the deal with washing eggs and leaving them out of the refrigerator?
That's an excellent question, or I should say, excellent question.
Thank you.
So you're very welcome. So there's always a debate, right? You have half of the people want to keep the eggs in the fridge at all times. The other half like to maybe, especially if it's their own backyard eggs, maybe leave them out on the counter. And the truth is it's a little bit of both, right? So what's super cool about chickens is that when they lay an egg, that egg is actually porous, but it has the chicken actually lays it with a film, right, that covers that egg and protects it. So it keeps it from bacteria from getting inside of that porous eggshell. And so if you do bring in eggs from your backyard, for instance, you have a laying flock and you're collecting your eggs for the day, you can absolutely bring them in. You can keep them out on your counter. It's not going to be a huge issue, especially because they, again, have that natural protective layer that's covering that eggshell. Now, most of us backyard chicken keepers will realize, though, that chicken eggs tend to get a little dirty sometimes, right? Especially in the nesting box. So you're going to be tempted to wash them. If you do wash them, that is totally okay and perfectly reasonable to do. But there's a couple of tricks. The first one is if you do wash that egg, you want to use a special, they actually have egg wash brushes that you can use that are gentle on the eggshell. But you want to use water that's actually warmer than the temperature of the egg. And the reason for that is it will keep from forcing bacteria in through that porous eggshell. And so make sure the water is warmer than the egg. The other thing you want to do is once you have washed those eggs, then you probably want to put them in your refrigerator. You've removed that protective coating, and now the refrigerator makes sense. When I bring eggs home from the grocery store, I know that they've been washed, they've been cleaned. I'm going to put those automatically in my refrigerator. And then the daytime temperatures, right? In the middle of the summer when it's so hot, I'm probably not going to leave my eggs out for too long if they are out on the counter. I'm going to probably put them in the refrigerator a little bit more quickly. But if it's in the middle of winter, I'm going to probably keep my chicken eggs out on the counter for a while.
For a while, a couple of weeks?
Oh, let's see. Well, it may be for a week or two, and they're usually just fine. But I tend not to keep my house too warm, so maybe that factors into it too. Really, if they're your own eggs, if you haven't washed them, they will definitely keep, or at least for a few days, if not a week or two. But if you wash them, then again, that's going to change that shell and remove that coating, and then you're going to want to refrigerate them.
And for refrigeration, what is the usual time that they're good in the refrigerator?
That's the amazing thing about eggs. So you can actually, keep them for at least several weeks, even a month or more. And there's a neat thing that you can do with the egg to kind of tell if it's maybe past its prime. So obviously, if you have fresh chicken eggs, you're going to want to eat them when they're fresh, right? When within that week that they're laid. But if you can't do that and they end up being 4 weeks old, oh my gosh, by all means, those make the best hard-boiled eggs. The older eggs always work better. Save those older eggs. But the trick that you want to do to maybe see how fresh they are is you would take a bowl of warm water, of course. Remember, we want the water to be warmer than the temperature of the egg. And then all you have to do is place that egg in that water bowl and then watch to see if it rises to the top, if it floats, or if it sinks to the bottom. If it rises to the top, then that means it's probably perfect for hard boiling. If it's still down towards the bottom of the water bowl, then you can probably use it for your fried eggs or scrambled eggs or anything like that. So that is the trick. But remember, the water needs to be warmer than the temperature of the egg.
So fresher eggs sink and older eggs float.
Yes, there we go. What a great way to say it.
Now I know a lot of people are asking the question, what is the temperature of an egg?
Oh, gosh. You're going to ask me that. That's going to be a hard question. Let's see. Let's see. It depends on the room temperature. So with an egg, you have to be careful because if it's fertile, this is kind of one of those weird kind of chicken geek kind of things. So a fertile egg will start developing at about 55 degrees or warmer. So if you do have fertile eggs and you don't want them to develop an embryo, you have to keep them below 55 degrees.
How does this happen without a rooster around?
Well, yeah, if you have a rooster.
Oh, okay. All right.
Then you're going to have to think about that.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
Sorry.
You had me worried there.
But no, as far as they're magically fertile. No. Well, so chickens will typically lay about 475 eggs in their lifetime, give or take maybe 10. And it depends on the breed. It depends on, other factors, because remember that chickens need to have so many hours of daylight in order to receive the chemical trigger to lay an egg. And that magic number is about 14. So when you hear that, people say, oh my gosh, my chickens are not laying in the winter, it's really not because the weather is colder. It's actually because the number of daylight hours has decreased. So it takes them longer to lay one egg, right? So if they're getting only 10 hours of daylight a day, it's going to take them in 2 days to get that chemical trigger to lay an egg. So remember, they need 14 hours. What you'll find is that in the commercial facilities, for instance, or sometimes if you do want your hens to continue laying consistently through the colder or the less daylight hour months, what you can do is you can actually set up a light and give them that extra number of daylight hours, kind of trick them into it. So you'd want to have the light, though, not stay on at night, but actually come on early in the morning. So some people do actually add a light to the coop to keep them laying consistently. But that does mean that your chicken they'll be going through that 475 eggs that they're going to lay in their lifetime. They're going to go through that much more quickly, if that makes sense.
Yes, that does make sense. Is there a special kind of light bulb?
No, any type of light will work. And I just want to premise with, if you do opt to add a light to, some kind of light source to your coop, especially during the colder months, make sure that it's not a heat lamp. And the reason for that is because there's such high fire danger. Sometimes people will think, oh, okay, I'm going to go ahead and add a light source, but gosh, I might as well just get a heat lamp because it's going to be cold. Well, but there's so much danger when it comes to fire starting because of those heat lamps. Don't chance it. Just go with a regular light bulb, and the chickens won't need the extra heat anyways. They'll be fine.
There's a lot of chicken quick tips for you from Cherie Sintes-Glover of chickensforeggs.com. She's an urban chicken consultant, a certified poultry health inspector as well. Thanks for the quick tips, Cherie.
Hey, you're very welcome. Thank you so much, Fred.